AEW All In has just finished one of my most anticipated pay-per-views, I guess you'd call it, in recent memory. AEW is the one company that I've been watching weekly, probably my favourite company at the moment. But how good was this big event, headlined by Adam Page versus Jon Moxley, with the triple main event, as they called it, of that match, alongside Omega versus Okada and Mercedes Moné versus Toni Storm. So let's dip into it. And we kicked off with the Trios World titles as the Ops, Shibata, Samoa Joe and Powerhouse Hobbs took on Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta from the Death Riders, alongside Gabe Kidd. This was a really fun opener with a great amount of quality wrestlers. The babyfaces beating on Yuta to get the crowd happy. Castagnoli being the incredible wrestler he is and going strike for strike with Shibata. Each man in this match got a good amount of time to shine, and it's great to see people such as Joe, Shibata, Claudio being able to put on great performances while elevating guys such as like Hobbs and Yuta even further. Joe picks up the win after beating Yuta, which wasn't really the hardest result to guess, but was a good way to set the crowd up for the show. The heels did beat down the Ops after the match to get some heat back, including a Samoa Joe stretcher job, so it'll be interesting to see where things go from here. Maybe Hook re-enters the picture? Next up we had the Casino Gauntlet match, the men's version I should say, and this was kicked off by Mark Briscoe and MJF. MJF is so over as a heel with the crowd here, and we have a pretty stacked lineup in this match with Ricochet entering third, Bandido fourth, Takeshita fifth, and Mystico sixth, just to name a few, while showing how stacked this match is. This was a fun way to get a lot of stars and great wrestlers on the show that aren't in the most prominent storylines in the company. We get a surprise return from injury for Juice Robinson, so it's good to see him back, but a little weird to see him without the beard. After a pretty long match, MJF steals the win from under Mark Briscoe. This match was far from bad, but it did feel like it was dragging towards the end, despite the star power involved. And this does mean MJF now gets a future world title match. Now unfortunately we have to put a damper on the event and the review as a whole here. It was TNT Championship time next, and sadly Adam Cole was announced as being injured and unable to compete, being stripped of the title, leading to a four-way match between Kyle Fletcher, Daniel Garcia, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, both of which were pulling double duty after being on the pre-show. Now before the match kicked off, we got Adam Cole coming out to cut a really sad promo, talking about having to go away for a while. He did mention possibly having to retire, he thanked the fans, very emotional. Obviously, had a few tears, and Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly were waiting at ringside, so hopefully we all wish to see Adam Cole fit and healthy again inside a wrestling ring. And as a bias perspective, he's my current favourite wrestler, so to see him stacking up these injuries, unfortunately, is a shame. But yeah, best wishes to Adam Cole, and hopefully he can get back to feeling good ASAP. Now, this match needs to be really good after a really crowd-deflating segment, and it was just kind of okay. Dustin Rhodes did get the win, though, with a surprise victory to claim the TNT title in front of a Texas crowd that went crazy when he won. So good for him, honestly. Next up, JoJo Offerman made a surprise appearance singing the entrance for Swerve, which made absolutely no sense, but totally fair play to her. She looks amazing, and it's nice to see her doing something in wrestling after everything that's happened. But this does mean it's time for Will Ospreay and Swerve to take on the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks have a stupidly long entrance that could rival peak Undertaker. I know it's meant to play in the whole like we're in charge and important characters, but it's so obnoxiously long that it kind of just completely stalls the show. The match kicks off to a pretty quick and strong start from the Bucks, really telling the story that a great tag team has the advantage over two great single stars paired together, which I think was the best kind of in-ring story to start this match off with. This is definitely the best match of the show so far, with a lot of near falls and high spots. It's a surprisingly long match that had a few near falls that genuinely made me feel like it was going to be over. Swerve picked up the win, meaning the Bucks lose their EVP privileges, and you have to wonder if we'll see a Swerve Ospreay match now that they have vanquished the Bucks as a team. Time for another gauntlet now, and this time it's the Women's Casino Gauntlet, kicking off with Chris Statlander and Megan Bayne starting the action, which is honestly two really solid choices. These two kick things off with a great amount of action, which they needed to do considering they were following that great tag team match. This is another long match on the card though, with a pretty stacked amount of women. We get to see Mina Shirakawa, Athena, Willow Nightingale, the debut in Siriu. Again, this isn't a bad match, it's just unnecessarily long, much like the men's gauntlet. Sometimes less is more, and you'll hear this a lot throughout this review, and multiple long matches on a show isn't always a good thing. Athena finally gets what she deserves and picks up the win, earning a future world title shot, which is awesome because while she's a big star in ROH, I do feel like AEW haven't used her anywhere near as much as they could or should, so seeing her get this is perfect. We then get the men's tag team title, and this is the Hurt Syndicate taking on Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey, and Christian Cage and Nick Wayne. This match was exactly what you would expect it to be. A little bit of a crowd lifter after really 2 long matches. All 3 teams have a different style, but they worked really well together, which probably shouldn't be surprising based on the wrestlers in the match. The Hurt Syndicate retained in what was the right result. The match I feel like once again could have been shorter, but post-match we do get to see the patriarchy turn on Christian, with Cope making his return to AEW to make the save. So if we get an FTR versus Cope and Christian, I will be a very happy man. Then it's time for main event 1 of the promised 3, and it's Mercedes Moné versus Toni Storm. Toni Storm is just so over as a character. She's been doing this for so long, yet always finds ways to add new things to it, and the crowd is just absolutely into Toni Storm all match. It's another good match again, as you'd probably expect from these two, and it plays out to be a really even affair. Mercedes is a great seller, and some of the near fall kickouts are tremendous. This is a great back and forth match, but sadly it feels like the crowd just isn't as into it as they should be as the match goes on. This does feel like a match that's hurt by the fact that there's so many other long matches on this show. Toni Storm eventually gets the win, retaining the title after a huge middle rope piledriver, which really puts her over strong in defeat. Then it was time for Omega versus Okada 5, and with the results being 2 wins each, this was the rubber match, I guess, until we get this match again and again. This is the most alive the crowd has been for a match all night as soon as the bell rings. Now, considering their first match was nearly 10 years ago, it'd be unrealistic to expect this to be as great as they were, but this is still a really good match. Having JR on commentary is a nice boost, but again, for as good as this match is, it's hard not to feel it's hurt by having so many other long matches on the card. This is definitely a must-watch match, but just like the tag match and the women's title match, I think it would have sat better with some shorter matches in between. Okada does get the win, as I think a lot of people probably expected, and I guess we'll see what he does next with this new unified title. And of course this leads into the main event, which is Adam Page taking on Mox in a Texas death match. This is an instant bloody affair with Moxley bleeding just minutes into the match, and it isn't much longer after that Hangman is bleeding too. Now these types of matches are hit or miss, people seem to either really enjoy them or not, and I think this was the perfect main event for this show. The chaos, blood and weapons added a great element to make this different from all the other longer matches on the show. With that being said, if you're not a fan of this type of wrestling, this probably is not going to be for you no matter how good it is. There's glass, barbed wires, tables, spikes, all sorts. Pretty much everything you'd expect from a Texas deathmatch or a Moxley match. There's a lot of run-ins in this match and interference, but eventually it does end with Hangman dethroning Moxley after a long title reign. Now overall, this is a great show, with lots of great matches, but it's just too long. There are 6 matches 25 minutes and above long, with 3 of them being over 30 minutes. Now I love long storytelling based matches, but to make them stand out, I personally feel like less is more, otherwise it just becomes a test of endurance. If some of these matches were like 15 minutes on the show, I think, at least to me, it would have felt a lot better. Which is a shame because most of these matches on their own are very well worth checking out. But 27-minute gauntlet match, as much as it's awesome to see the women get booked and wrestle on this show, really doesn't help the pace of a 6-hour show when it's sandwiched in between 2 20-minute tag team matches. And having the 3 main events back to back, which were 25, then 30, then 35 minutes long, really didn't help either. This this show had the opposite effect of a WWE show, where with WWE shows you're often wondering where half the wrestling is. This one there was probably just too much wrestling. It's a weird conundrum. So again, this is a really good show, it just starts to feel longer than it should, which is a shame. I'd probably say it's a solid 7 out of 10, maybe even an 8 if I had to rate it. but I think it just could have been so much higher. Let us know what you thought about All In below. Do you agree with what we're saying about it feeling too long or some of the matches being too long? Do you think the matches were just timed perfectly? Were you disappointed by this show? Did it live up to your expectations? Did it exceed your expectations? Let us know. Drop the video a like while you're here as well, and subscribe to the Wrestling Hideout for more videos like this, or predictions, or fantasy bookings, TEWs, podcast lists, you name it, we probably have it. And hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.